Breaking news we are continuing to monitor here on HQ. Michigan transfer Hunter Dickinson announcing today that he is heading to Kansas. He made the announcement with a short video on Twitter this morning. He was a two-time All Big Ten selection with the Wolverines. The junior center was the top-ranked player in the transfer portal, according to our partners over at 24/7 Sports. The accolades for Dickinson during his time at Michigan, those 3 seasons, well earned, averaging just over 17 points per game and about 8.5 rebounds per game. A two-time All Big Ten second-team selection and just the 5th Wolverine ever to rack up 1,000 points, 500 rebounds, and 100 blocks. Taking a look at the transfer portal and the folks over at 24/7 Sports, the top 10 who are in the portal now have all found their new landing spot, with Dickinson deciding to go head over to play for Bill Self and the Jayhawks. So if you want to build through the portal, the top guys are now no longer available. Our college basketball expert, Matt Norlander, ready and available to talk some news here. Hunter Dickinson saying goodbye to Michigan and heading over to Kansas. What does this do for the Jayhawks?
It puts the Kansas Jayhawks into the national title conversation. I don't know if Hunter Dickinson will be the most impactful transfer in college basketball next season. I don't think that's a guarantee. It could well not be the case, but it's highly likely he will be among the most important. And really what this does is it rounds out maybe the best transfer class of any school in the country, and that is Kansas. Normally we are used to, in many years prior, talking about the likes of Kansas and other blue bloods getting the best recruiting classes, but transfer-wise, Dickinson is now the headliner, in addition to a really good transfer from Towson, Nick Timberlake, who could well start. Arterio Morris, who's coming over from Texas, is also going to be a part of this Kansas roster next season. Dickinson rated, as you mentioned, by 247. Now I'm going to give our own David Cobb at CBS Sports a shout out as well. He rated Dickinson as the best transfer on the board. To get him, it's a big-time get for Kansas. It's not stunning, but no one really knew what he was going to do. I thought he was actually going to go back home and play for Maryland, but in dodging that, he doesn't have to go against his former school. I have to believe that also plays a part in Dickinson's overall decision. And, oh, by the way, he's going to arguably the best coach in all of college basketball in Bill Self. Dickinson will start at the 5. We'll see how he continues to develop. I think he is a good fit for Self's system. He has developed a bit of an outside shot, not a consistent one. He took 57 three-point attempts last season for the Wolverines, but among the most talented and certainly among the more well-known big men in the sport now, is going to a blue blood program. In this whole process, Hunter Dickinson, who was plenty well-known before, in having a high-profile transfer decision, he has become really one of the 5 biggest faces, names in all of college basketball, and so Kansas will add that in addition to adding a pretty good big man overall.
So when you look at that Kansas roster, from losing Jalen Wilson and Grady Dick, both of them declaring for the NBA draft, how do you think this roster now, with these new acquisitions, including Hunter Dickinson, how does it shape up and compare to the roster last year? There was a number 1 seed but lost in the second round.
It wouldn't surprise me if this roster was somewhere close to that. Dickinson needed to join in order to make that possible. Now they're going to bring back KJ Adams, who played some small ball 5 a year ago. Now KJ Adams will shift more into a tweener forward role, which I think will actually suit him better. I think he is due to have an outstanding season. And I'll mention those transfers again just so that people realize, like Arturo Morris from Texas, Nick Timberlake from Towson, and then they've got a good freshman coming in, Elmarco Jackson, who I love. I love this player. He could wind up starting as well. And oh, by the way, DeJuan Harris, maybe the best pass-first point guard. Imagine that, a pass-first point guard. He might be the best one in all of college basketball next season. So I don't know if Kansas is overloaded with depth necessarily. We'll see about that. They could certainly, that could come to pass. And there's still 1 roster spot open for KU, but this team now, and we will podcast about this on Thursday on the Eye on College Basketball podcast, Gary Parrish and myself. We'll see where Parrish wants to slot KU in his overall rankings. To me, adding Dickinson, and you consider Self as the coach, I think Kansas has to be a preseason top 5 team heading into next season. And then the fallout from this real quick, Kansas gets Dickinson. He's the winner. Maryland misses out. it's kind of a bitter loss for them. I never thought Georgetown was in there. Villanova had high hopes. Villanova would have vaulted into that conversation, but Kentucky is the big one here. In not getting Hunter Dickinson, the feeling is that Oscar Tshiebwe is going to return to Kentucky. That has not been officially announced, but in not getting Dickinson, ideally Calipari would like to have Tshiebwe, former National Player of the Year, back. But this decision, more than any other one, not just because Dickinson was so highly rated, but because other big-time programs were going to be so significantly affected by it, this was the largest domino that we will see in this offseason of college basketball. And hey, the transfer portal is not such a bad thing, right? Because we are talking essentially about free agents more than a month removed from the Final Four. I think that's a good thing for the sport.
Yeah, anytime we can talk college basketball, I surely will take it. Of course, Matt Norlander will as well. Thank you for your time. He mentioned his Eye on College Basketball podcast. Make sure you check it out along with him and Gary Parrish. They'll have a new episode coming out shortly, but the transfer portal that he just mentioned, hey, how should teams build their teams? Should it be through high school recruiting or the transfer portal? Check them out on the Eye on College Basketball and hear the two of them talk all that through. For all your listening audio needs, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow.